Hi, this is Mobile Experience. This is the second part of a series called Getting Started with UpNote. The next thing I would like to talk about is note history or version history. I'm inside of a note with a table or tables, and you click on the ellipsis and scroll down to version history and press that, and you will see dates and timestamps of every time the note was changed, and you can go back to different points in time where it's just the tables, or if you want the latest version, you can click there and restore the note to whichever stage you need. The next thing I'd like to go over are themes. By default, it is the system theme, which happens to be dark. Right now it's nice and bright and white, but it also can be dark. I generally prefer dark, but for today's purposes we'll use light. And you can also have different colors. Most of them are locked in the free version, but you get the idea. The next thing I would like to talk about are tags. What are tags? Tags are words you use to help categorize and find your notes. The best thing to do would be to show you. This is a note with a Word file in it. You simply click in the body of the note, you type a hashtag, and then you type a word that you think will be able to help you find that note. In this instant, we're typing the word important, and hit the enter key, or you can also press it on the screen. Now let's save that note. Let's go to a different note. And now we can search for that word. And simply click all notes, and every note with that word and as a hashtag will come up, and it came right up. Okay, moving on. If we click the General tab on the far left, we get lots of other options, and I'll explain each one. You can show the number of notes in each notebook. If you look off to the side here in the notebooks, some of them have two. That's because there's two notes or one note in each notebook. Okay, the next setting is create a new note in focus mode. Let me show you what that looks like. At the moment, you can see my notebooks and tags and templates, all of that off to the left. But we put it in focus mode for new notes. So let me show you what that looks like. It takes away the distraction of the notebooks and all of the other things that are generally in the left-hand side of the screen, so you can just concentrate on writing your note. So let's uncheck that. A compact notes list. Generally, most of the notes will give a description. Let me uncheck that. It will have part of the text from the body of the note under there. Now it says no additional text, but generally it would. If you just want it as a compact notes list with just the title, you would check that off. You can sort your notes in a custom manner. You can alphabetize them. You can make it the most recently edited note on top. You can do the same thing with the items in the sidebar. The items in the sidebar, what they're predominantly talking about are the notebooks. You can customize them. You can drag them to the top however you would like. Let's go back. You can alphabetize them forwards and backwards. And display a note timestamp. That kind of goes back to version history. The most updated time, and there's only one previous date for that particular note, but we covered that a few moments ago. Going back to the settings under General, you can show nested notebooks in a note list. And what is a nested notebook? All right, we have our notebooks off to the side. Let's go to the one with the Microsoft Word file. You can right click, or as well, you can also click the ellipsis and type in new nested notebook. let's give this a name. Let's type the word help. And this nested notebook is going to be inside the notebook called Microsoft Word. You can also give it a certain cover if you like. Let's make this one purple. Well, hold on, let's be different. Let's make it green. And we'll click create. Now, if you look off to the left here where the Microsoft Word notebook is, this help is a nested notebook, basically a sub one. Next up are global shortcuts. Those are basically keyboard shortcuts. I'm not going to cover that. I have a friend online that I've mentioned in a previous video who has a channel called Effective Faith. He does an extensive review of how to use shortcuts in UpNote. Or if you change some of your settings, you can also reset to default and start over if you can't figure out what you've done wrong. I've covered importing and exporting in a previous video, but I'm going to briefly mention it again. And you'll see all of these are locked because this is my demo account. But you can import from Evernote, Simple Note. You can import the simple markdown language. It's basically text. Except you're able to indent and do other things like that. And you can also transfer your files to many other note apps use markdown language. You can import from HTML. You can also import from just basic text. Exporting all your notes, let me click on that. You can export to basic text. You can export to HTML. You can export to a PDF in portrait mode or landscape, or you can export to Markdown. Many other Note apps use the Markdown language, and it's a seamless transition. Next, I'd like to go over to the left-hand side where it says Editor, and it opens up some different settings. You can change the font if you like to whatever the system font is, or you can adjust it. You can protect your notes from unwanted edits. I already have that checked. Let me show you what it's like when it's not checked. When it is not checked, you can literally just put your cursor and start typing. I highly recommend you don't do that. It's really smarter to protect your notes from unwanted edits, and when you have that checked, you'll see a little pin here, and you have to do that. You can click on the body of the note and it won't do anything until you hit that pin. Okay, next up on the list is spell check. You can have spell check in, I can't remember how many languages it is. I think it's 11, right around there, from German, Spanish, French, and so on. The next thing is typewriter mode, not to be confused with focus mode. In focus mode, remember, it made everything on the left-hand side of the screen disappear so you can concentrate on just strictly typing. In typewriter mode, it brings everything down so you can just concentrate on typing. If you have a picture here or attachments or whatever. Let's uncheck that. Wrap code. That has to do with code snippets. It's basically reusable code that you use. I'm not going to go over that because I'm just going to go over what the general consumer would use, not what programmers would use. We can leave that checked for now. Hide autocomplete for tags. We went over tags a few moments ago. Okay, autocomplete for tags. If you have that checked, as soon as you type a word, it will try and predict the word you're going to type for you. It's kind of a useful feature unless you just like to be specific every time and don't want any help with that. The default image size in your files is set to large by default, I believe, but you can make it as small, medium, large. To-do items are grayed out. or completed to-do items. That's over here, right here, your to-do list. Let's go back to settings. Let's see. Okay, new note start with a heading 2. You can change that to however you would like. Most of these settings here will not apply for most people. I'm going to skip down to display PDF file to preview. You can also have it previewed just with just the title and the note. Now, something that's interesting is, let's go to this PDF file, and you'll see it's nice and tall. It's easy to read. You can adjust the font if you want it smaller or larger. But if we go back to the settings here, the PDF preview height is what we're looking for, and that will make the PDF taller, or larger, I should say, so you can see the whole thing. By default, it's actually kind of small. Okay, and lastly, I'd like to go over backup and restore. It has the automatic backup. I believe when you first install the app, is set to daily. You can make it every hour, every 12 hours, or you can turn it off completely. And you also have the option of backing up on the fly if you need to. Maximum number of backups by default is 50, but you can make it as high as unlimited. You can restore your database at any point in history should you want to. Maximum number of version history. Version history is the history of a particular note that I mentioned earlier. You simply type on the ellipsis and type on version history, and it'll show you different restore points. I mentioned that earlier. So let's go back to backup and restore. By default, it does not back up your attachments. You have to check that off. So if you have any attachments in your database, you'll definitely want to have that checked. You can export your backup files to Markdown should you want to. Those are basic text files. I don't personally like that, but it does enable you to take some of your data with you to a different company that offers notes. Many of them offer Markdown import and export. You can view your backup folder. You can select your backup folder. This is my demo account. Normally I keep my backup on my desktop. It's just where I like it. And you can back up at any point in history and in time that you want by hitting the backup now button. And it shows the last backup was at 10:51 on today's date. Now, before I get into restore backup, let's go over to here. You see the notebook titled Microsoft Word, and there is a sample Word file inside. I'm going to delete that notebook, move it to the trash. Let's go to the trash and delete it permanently. A double whammy, basically. So what can I do? I go to settings, backup and restore, and I can select a restore point. And I'm going to tell it to overwrite all data and restore. Okay, now let's go back, and there's the Microsoft Word file, exactly like it was with the attachment inside. I'd like to thank you for watching my video. If you like UpNote and if you like my videos, please like and subscribe, and you have a great day.